Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Furthermore, some parents may not find this content suitable for children as it contains explicit language and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everybody. I'm True Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at True Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Matter of fact, just tell your device to play Fired Up by True Duncan. Google Fired Up by True Duncan. I promise you, I'm going to pop right up, my man. Look, there is plenty to get to today. We're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers not in a joint practice because of weather. We're going to be getting into that. Dak Prescott, ESPN. Mina Kimes says that he would make big bucks if he went to another team. We're going to be talking about a situation out at Hoover High School with the coach and players. USA basketball, the huge comeback against Jokic and Serbia. But in the meantime, it is Friday. That means our MMA insider, Austin Ford, is kicking it with us. Austin, thank you so much for joining the program again today, my man.
And it's great to be here. TGIF. Let's go. Bring on the weekend.
I know that's right. Speaking of which, real quick, Brody, I was on Tubi last night. Do you know what movie I saw on Tubi, bro? I couldn't believe it, man. I ain't seen it in years.
Oh, Friday.
No, but it's on there, though. It is on there. Better. All three of them are on Tubi, as a matter of fact. Class act.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Demeter. Thought you was going to play with my frog, Demeter. Your frog ain't jumping in my direction no more. There's a new tadpole in town. Like, what? Hey,
they don't make them like they used to.
Man, and look, I had a crush, bro. I had a crush on Demeter. Look, check this out, right? Fast forward, I'm in my 30s. And me and the homie are kicking it, right? And we're in the line waiting to get into this club. And there's a female in front of me. And she turned around and she's talking to her friends and all that. And I look at her and I'm like, yo, has anybody ever told you look like Demeter? And she goes, who's that?
No.
And I was like, check this out, right? So I showed her a picture of Demeter from Class Act. And she's like, what? I'll take it, woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I was like, can I get a pic with you real quick so that way I can tell everybody I met Demeter? She was like, yeah, that's cool. So I'm purposely doing like all these horrible angles, right? And I'm like, you know what? I bet you would take a better picture from your phone. She's like, you know what? I probably would. So she took a picture, right? And I'm like, cool. Hey, can you do me a favor? Send that to my phone right quick. She was like, yeah, what's your number? My homeboy P looking at me like, what? This bro's got what?
Hustle.
Drew got game like that? Boy, she sent me that picture. I said, yeah. Slick way to get that number, boy.
Was that the last time you had contact with her?
Hey, man. No.
Okay, perfect. you pseudo lived out your dream.
What I look like? You think I'm gonna let that just slide by? No, sir.
You called her Demeter. She was cool with it.
Actually, she was.
Oh.
Man, all the first House Party movie, man, that one's actually on there too.
Man, have you seen the most recent one?
Nah, I didn't bother with that, bro. That just flat out looked like hot garbage. And I saw the remake of White Man Can't Jump, and it was okay, but that mega uber super duper mega happy ending that they did at the end of that movie, I was just like, man, come on. Like, have you seen the remake of that?
No. Nope.
You ain't missing nothing, bro. I mean, seriously, because, obviously at the end of the first one, right, like he screws up and he makes a bet with Wesley's character about doing the dunk, right? And so he loses his money. But at the end of the new one, you know, old boy ends up in the NBA. He ends up being like an anger management coach for everybody in the NBA. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, man. Everybody just lives happily ever after. I was like, this ain't it.
The truth is, white men can jump. So
I don't know if Jokic.
Times have changed.
I don't know if Jokic could jump, but he can hoop. That's for damn sure.
I'm watching these kids on these videos, you know, East Bay, behind the back Duncan, and it, you know, all race, colors, and creeds. Well, maybe not all of them, but the white men can jump nowadays. That's for sure.
Man, old boy that was in the dunk contest a couple years ago, man, killed it.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah. That was more than a 360. We did bring him on to talk MMA, by the way, combat sports. I promise you. I just, you know, I get it. Oh, and you know what? Real quick, I got to do this. You know what other movie was on there? Last Dragon.
Oh, my goodness. That's my favorite martial arts movie of all time.
Man, I love that movie, man. Bruce Leroy, who's the man? Show enough.
Well, you know, Show enough is my spirit villain. He's my spirit. And Bruce Leroy, he, you know, I'm a Bruce Leroy fan, but you know, he was soft as tissue paper outside of the martial arts. But man, I remember watching that movie and maybe 30 times over and over. We had it on VHS, and it made me shadow box around the living room every single time. It took me a while to realize what moves were. You know, he's like, "Will you show me some moves?" I'm like, Bruce, you need to show her some moves. You got all the moves, man. What are you talking about?
The moves.
Yeah,
moves.
The moves.
The moves. Type of moves I want to show Demeter. Good grief. The glow. I don't. You know what?
No.
I even though I love that movie, I think my favorite all-time 80s movie, hands down, is Coming to America. That damn movie was so funny, man.
Okay. Different genre, but yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely. All the I mean, you can go back now and look, and you'll see people that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this person was in the movie, or
right.
And it's
Samuel L. Jackson, man. Do you know how they found him, by the way?
No.
Porn.
What?
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson was doing porn. Yeah, bro. That's how Sly.
He was the BBC?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You know, Sly was doing it.
Who?
Sylvester Stallone.
What?
Yeah. That's how he got the name the Italian Stallion. He took it from his porn name.
Man, if I could break into, I knew I could break into showbiz like that. Man. I thought that was plan E. You know, not plan
A. Hey, man, there's a movie, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was called Baby Mama, and there's a scene with Steve Martin, and she asked him what the secret to success was, and he whispered in her ear, and they're walking away, and she goes, "What did he say?" And he goes, "Having a big one." So,
yeah.
It actually makes sense when you really think about it. I mean,
confidence is the key to life. So,
well, you know, Johnny Sins has been everybody's stepdad. He's been a doctor. I mean, come on, man.
A salesman.
Yeah, the guy's got range.
He's got range. Oh my goodness.
This show is rated R in case you're new here. Really quick here, Canelo, Egder, you know, there's a lot of interest in it, but, you know, Canelo's been getting pretty violent before fights have happened. He's grown an affinity for slapping people in the face during press conferences. I'm not really sure where this came from. I mean, Canelo was never that guy. What the hell's going on to you?
I'm guessing it's a last ditch effort. Money reveals character. I mean, if are we trying to sell the fight by any means necessary? I mean, you're Canelo Alvarez,
right?
He should win this fight in his eyes, and legend has it that he will. But why are you turning heel this late in the game? I don't like it at all.
Think it's an act?
No, I don't. I think he's just an ass now, and it's just not a good look. But boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, they don't care. I would consider myself another level of boxing fan, and I'm hoping at my level, it's, what are you doing, man? Like, I look at him as if he was my fighter, and if he was my young fighter, I would absolutely, go Hoover High School on him. But
damn, man.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't embarrass us, But if I'm coming in late to the game for 10%, I'm just like, okay, champ. And then I get on the phone with my wife, and I'm like, this idiot slapped the guy. She's like, what? So I, not a fan of the act for sure. Still a fan of Canelo, old Canelo now, but yeah.
I think he's afraid.
Do not approve. You think he's afraid?
Yeah, I think he's afraid to get into the ring for some weird reason, man. And I think he's scared of his legacy being destroyed. It happens to everybody. Look, you never know what's going on behind closed doors, man. There could be, some other thing happening. It could be a personal thing, whatever it is. But I personally never thought I'd see it. And I think a big issue is that people saw what McGregor was doing in MMA, and they decided this is the way to go. But
yeah, but that wasn't an act.
Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say. That was authentic. Like, McGregor was being himself. And I think that's what people miss. Muhammad Ali, when he was in Sonny Liston's face, you're going down. It wasn't an act. He meant every word that he said. Sure, he was selling tickets, but Ali was being his real self. And I don't know, man, this WWE stuff, man, anymore. And here's the thing. A lot of fight fans are tired of it. They're tired of the Pauls out there. They're tired of, the fake BS and the fake beef and the fake rivalries. The same way that, Haney and King tried to beef up that fight and all that stuff. And neither one of them was saying nothing to each other. They just met in the middle of the hallway and just started screaming at each other. I'm like, all right, this is – it's not even something to where you think to yourself, like, okay – whether or not you agree with the side violence, it almost becomes more of, is this believable or not? And then what happens is, and this, it translates over to most sports fans as going, yeah, man, this stuff is all so rigged. They're just trying way too hard, man. And I think it's a bad look for boxing. And I think the reason why boxing is not as successful on the mass scale that it used to be is not because necessarily it's missing great fighters, but because it is missing real-life people that are boxing.
I have to agree with that, and I'll go a step further that boxing did it to itself with the types of fights that are picked. We only see these super competitive fights, what a very small percentage of the time. Most of the time, who's going to win. Like, is there even gambling on boxing? Because you've got the journeyman, you've got prospects, you've got champions, you've got undefeated fighters, and they're hot because they haven't lost, but they haven't fought anybody. It's kind of why I moved away from boxing. I love the integrity of MMA because everybody's lost. Everybody. And you got Khabib. Well, he just got out before he lost. He probably would have lost. And then we've got the John Jones, and he's going to lose too because Father Time's undefeated. The character that is revealed from money and, that lifestyle, degrading your reflexes and all that will win. So, but anyway, the losing and continuing and still being respected, I love that about MMA, and I really despise that about boxing.
Well, and with MMA, I think the perception is that it's not necessarily all BS. Now, obviously, we've seen a couple of things, right? Lesnar, sometimes he'll get into an octagon and just walk in and just push somebody. And it's kind of like, okay, bro, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, fun.
Right. It doesn't have to be that way, though, in MMA necessarily to sell a fight, because Dana White is a phenomenal promoter. People can say whatever they want to about him, but the reality is he probably is the best promoter maybe in the world. And I don't think that is too much of an extension.
No, not at all. Clearly. I mean, maybe has he made the most money? Probably, but he's created the biggest legacy. I mean, look at what the Golden Boy had to do to get it done.
Right.
You don't even know what that guy's about. I mean, he seems like a strange dude, and I'll leave it at that. And I've noticed that promoters across the board, and I used to think, I hear the cliche, promoters are all shady. All promoters are shady. And I'm like, no, you can't classify all these guys in this job as shady. I mean, there's got to be some promoters with integrity. And then over the years, I realized, I think you have to tell half-truths, flat-out lies. You have to manipulate. You have to be that type of person or become that type of person to promote, because you can't tell two men, hey man, you got this, you're going to win. Think about the B side of the fights. Hey, we're going to pay you lots of good money to bring you in to fight. And they're like, oh, really? Who do you want me to fight? Well, this 30-0 guy, you probably heard of him. Oh, that's who you want me to fight? Yeah, man, get in there, champ. You got this. Knowing you are being brought in to lose. And I guess you know what you're getting into, but that character, that kind of sneaky, sleazy, get stuff done at all costs, no matter who you have to tell what to, it is common amongst all promoters. I don't think you can be a promoter without being kind of going to the dark side. So I would never want to be a promoter. I couldn't compromise my standards and morals. I couldn't do it.
Well, and for me, MMA numbers can be inflated pretty easily too. I mean, think about it. You got some local dude who's selling a lot of tickets. You and I both know how this goes. Selling a lot of tickets. And so they're going to make a fight with somebody they know he could beat. And, it turns into, we got so-and-so, he's 8-0, he's got another fight, da-da-da-da-da. And so he's selling a lot of tickets. And then by the time he gets a shot, it's 50-50 on what he's going to do when he's got to see somebody who's the real deal. Because
absolutely,
you and I both know that while the local fight scene has grown exponentially just about everywhere over the last 10 years, just because it's grown doesn't mean that the crop has the cream. You know what I'm saying?
The level of competition, or the level of these guys as young fighters, it has increased. Rising tides lifts all boats. But you're right. The local guy that they feed fights to, you get to a point where you have to fight somebody to break into the next level. And even the guys that are comfortable being the local guy, selling tickets, selling sponsorships, being the man in their town, and the promoter is going to at some point go, well, we got to bring someone in to fight this guy. And they're going to bring in somebody with 7 losses. And this guy is a dog, not like a journeyman boxer. This guy's good because he's fought really good guys. And he's going to smash that 10-0 guy, you know? And so again, that's what I love about mixed martial arts. It's any given Saturday, you know? I just love it. I love that part about it.
Well, for me, and I've seen this time and time again, if somebody wants to prove themselves as a fighter, regardless whether it's MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever it is, eventually you are going to have to travel to go somewhere to really find out who you are. You're not going to automatically get a judge's decision. You are walking in a lot of times to a hostile environment. Sure, there might only be 500 people there, but those 500 people can get really fucking loud. You know what I mean? And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand by calling local fights. You know, you've got a local fighter who's 10-0, but what people forget about that is the guy who's traveling, he doesn't have to do anything. He literally just has to finish his little weight cut, and he's going to be sleeping like a baby. Meanwhile, the local dude is out running around doing interviews on local radio stations. He's constantly on social media. He's doing everything he can to sell a ticket. You know, he's losing sleep over the numbers because he's got to make his money. And when fight night happens, you know, he might be a little strung out.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
That's very common. And really, it's a beatdown. You know, does that have to be part of the game? Unfortunately, it does. But, you know, never saw Khabib, you know, being clever. He was just being Khabib.
Well, according to McGregor, he was. According to McGregor, his record was inflated. Now, he beat McGregor, to be fair, all right? But simultaneously, there are a lot of people that looking back at it, they feel like he ducked out quick, like you said, because he doesn't want that L on his record. But I don't know. My spidey sense says he's the real deal all the way around, except some of the cultural things. But yeah,
you know, they breed those type of guys. You know, when you think about fighting, you know, every real fighter, fighting chose them. You know, they had some type of serious adversity in their life, you know, and you can have adversity in the suburbs, but fighting chooses the fighters, and fighting chose Dagestan, you know, and so they're just pumping out these guys that they have. Not only can you see the grit and the dog in them when they fight, but what you're seeing is they have that grit and dog in them to train like that from a young age and stick with it. You know, where they're just a different mindset. And now we have Americans that have that dog, but not in the, you know, damn near all of them like they do over there, and Brazilians too. You know, Brazilians maybe not the highest level of wrestling, but their jiu-jitsu, their striking, you know, and what do they have? Adversity, you know, and that's what breeds a real fighter. None of them are pretending to be a fighter. They are absolutely identify as being a fighter, and you know, that's their lives. But it's the national pastime. It's very deeply embedded in them. But we have a lot of fighters just trying their hardest to dig deep and create something inside of them, and that's why you can turn professional without being professional. You know, you can't call yourself a professional athlete just because you have pro fights on your record. And that's the thing about boxing and MMA. You know, at what level is a real professional fighter? I think it's pretty clear, but it certainly is not. You have to be a professional caliber to take a professional fight. You don't even have to really have an amateur record, depending on the commission. You just step in there and, you know, everybody that steps in that cage deserves my respect. No, definitely not. Taking an ass whooping is not that respectable. Training hard, year in, year out, doing the right things, denying what you want now for what you want later. That, to me, is what's to be revered, not just because you stepped in the cage. I never liked that quote, that cliche.
Well, and for me, the antithesis is, you know, you get somebody in boxing who's, you know, 35-0, 40-0, and they lose a fight, and everybody goes, see, they're not real. They're not the real deal. And I mean, we see it all the time in, like, football. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs, they could, you know, start out 5-0, and then they lose a game, and it's, oh, see, look, they're not going to the Super Bowl this year. They lost a game because, you know, losing is a part of it, man. And for me, it always blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, who did they lose to? How did they lose? You know, because for me, the difference is I saw Dallas last year, but I saw that game against the Giants when they blew them out at the beginning of the season. I thought, it's September. Let's wait. And then they got, you know, hosed by Arizona, and I thought, okay, so that's more proof of who they really are to me, right? But that was a different situation because I knew who Arizona was going to be. Now, Dallas made the playoffs, right? But once they got there, it got manhandled by Green Bay. Right, exactly. But, you know, the point of what I'm saying is that just because something happens and somebody loses a fight or loses a game or whatever, and, you know, my favorite quote all time, I use it all the time, is from Bob Stoops. He said, the thing about winning is people think it's easy and it's not, end quote. The reality is there can only be one winner at the end of the day. If we could all win, we would all win. It's just not the way that it is. And it's astounding to me the amount of hate a winner will get. Look at Ronda Rousey. She was on top of the world before she lost that fight. When she was walking out for that fight, Joe Rogan compared her ring walk to Mike Tyson. When she lost when she lost the fight, it was, well, she wasn't able to do blah 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 against opponents that were just not, you know, as good. And I mean, just started calling her overrated immediately. It went from Ronda Rousey's the best female fighter in the world to, in a matter of seconds, going, well, you know, she's really just overrated. And that pisses me off.
Me too. And that's, fighting doesn't love anybody.
For real.
You know, fighting is, you know, Teddy Atlas, he's like, this is the ring of truth. You know, there are no lies in here. And that's not always the case because of promoters. But when you really get in there with somebody that is on your level, it's the truth time. And, you know, losing is learning. You know, you see, you get spoon-fed all these fights. The biggest lesson is going to come from that one L at the end. Or you can fight tough people, catch some L's early, and take smaller bites, get bigger lessons from, you know, several losses, as opposed to the one loss, which can just completely shatter your whole world. You know, so, you know, losing is learning, and failure is the best way to learn. So run towards that. Run towards that. You
know, I interviewed Cub Swanson a few times, and I remember one time I asked him about, you know, the Ronda Rousey thing and how she was handling it. And I just felt like he was the only one that was being objective, because he goes, you know what, when you lose a fight, he goes, a lot of people do not get it. They almost treat it like somebody in your family died. They walk up to you and they go, oh, we're so sorry for your loss. And he was like, I had to take time away from social media. I had to take time away from everything. He goes, I don't have a problem with you. He goes, I'm talking about media. You guys get paid off of clicks. And because negativity breeds this stuff, that's how you get paid. He's like, I want to hear more positive stuff. But he goes, it's not the way that it is. And so I just feel like from that perspective, that's part of why it's so big. And look, I don't know what it is about our society, but people love when somebody is on top of the world and then they fall flat on their face. And I really do not understand it at all.
There's not a, I don't like to get angry, or have things take me out of my character. But that is one of the things that I do not like about, gosh, what group are we talking about? Is it all of us, this nation, this world, our sport? I despise that, and I'm somebody that, I respect from me is free. You don't have to earn my respect. It's yours to lose. And if someone had to earn my respect, they would be earning back my respect, but nice guys finish last. And, somebody that watches what they say usually is not the most popular guy amongst these people. And, I've had to really kind of accept that about myself, being kind as a lifestyle, service of other as a lifestyle, not as a damn strategy, So, I'm not like them, Kendrick Lamar, they not like us. So I'm not like them, So whatever happens in the end, I'm going with integrity. A lot of fighters don't want to hear some positive reinforcement after a loss, so you got to play that carefully. Like after they lose, you're like, hey man, this ain't the end of the world. I mean, I won't say that in the cage, but if you're back in the back crying, yeah, I'm going to say something like that. And I've had fighters in the back just lose their minds because they lost. And okay, give it some time, give it a few minutes, an hour, a couple hours, and then still losing their minds. Their life is over. And as they're losing their minds, they're losing my respect, because you are much more than a fighter. You might be a father, you're a son, you're a brother, you're a husband, you're a wife, you're a mother. The best thing to do when that type of adversity hits and it's shaking your world is to count your blessings, or you haven't looked deep enough into the game to know losing is a possibility. It is absolutely a possibility. Recently, I had a fighter that I was training, undefeated, really never lost. And I mentioned to him and his dad in front of them, I was like, have you guys ever thought about what's going to happen if we lose? And they both looked at me like I was crazy. And then after he lost, the whole world crumbled, and I could see that coming. You got to keep it realistic. You got to keep it real. Losing is learning. Adversity is learning. That's how you level up from the losses, from the turmoil, how you pick yourself up. And, you're never going to see your mistakes in your spectacular first round, 30-second knockout. There is a downside to that. You didn't get to see what you're not good at. And for you to be the best you can be, you've got to see what you're not good at and then run towards that. So, it's deep, but there's a lot of shallow people in this world.
My man, Austin Ford, he is our MMA insider right here on Fired Up, hosted by yours truly, Drew Duncan. Austin, thank you so much once again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with us for a little bit, my man.
My pleasure. Can't wait till next Friday, and we'll do it all over again.
Already. Has anybody seen this? Aaron Rodgers was kept from a joint practice because of rain, bro. Rain. He didn't play in the preseason last year. Obviously, that didn't help. I wonder how healthy Aaron Rodgers really is, if I'm keeping it a buck. I've seen him in practice. Man, look, that Jets football team, they're just finding new and creative ways to continue to destroy themselves. Look, if you don't want to play in the rain, maybe you should do something a little more your speed, like badminton, car washing. Arena football's out there if you want to go that route. Flag football. Hell, even they probably play in the rain. When did this become a thing? I don't really get it, man. You've got Kurt Warner has been saying that all football should be played indoors. Now, look, I understand where he's coming from because, you know, the fastest show on turf, right? Simultaneously, I don't buy it. Football is football, bro. What are we playing here? What are we going to start doing? Canceling games because of some other look. What happened a week ago was the result of lightning. I don't think we should put anybody at risk. Nobody's lives should be in danger. But football is a tough sport. And a little rain, a little snow, any of that never hurt anybody. I mean, I remember when people were complaining because the Broncos were getting ready to play the Seahawks in New York, and everyone's like, the weather's going to be so cold. Do both of those teams not play in cold weather? Does it not get cold in Seattle? Did I miss something? Does it not get cold in Denver? Did I miss something? Not only do I question how healthy Aaron Rodgers is, I question what he's playing like. You know, and we've seen, you know, tapes that could be potentially overblown. You know, there's footage out there, obviously him and receivers getting into it and all that type of stuff. But, you know, men communicate differently. Just because they're being aggressive doesn't mean that they have an issue with each other. And I understand that, you know, you don't want to put your 40-year-old quarterback at risk. There's a part of me that definitely gets that. Other teams are playing their starters. Yeah, I don't know, man. And look, this is part of the reason why I said Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets to begin with, because he knew that they were a desperate organization that would allow him to do whatever. Coach can say whatever the hell he wants to. Wasn't Aaron Rodgers not there for mandatory? Unexcused? And coach is playing it off like it's no big deal? This is why he's with the Jets, because the Green Bay Packers organization was not about to tolerate this anymore. Look, we are done. We are moving on. You do not run us. You don't sign any checks to anybody. This is the NFL. We're not going to sign your best friend because you want to play with him. Do not sit around and pretend like you own us. You don't. And the Jets are basically letting Aaron Rodgers act like he owns them. And I've said myself, I have a theory. It may be a little Looney Tune, but I would not doubt if Nathaniel Hackett was purposely sabotaging that team just to make sure that Aaron Rodgers stayed the quarterback. That's his boy. Aaron Rodgers manipulated that whole thing a couple of years ago, and the Green Bay Packers had a really great second half of the year, and they weren't far away from making the Super Bowl. Now, I understand that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but I've said before that Jets O-line is garbage. I said it before. I was like, Zach Wilson, what is he supposed to do? What is he going to do? Nobody could survive behind that offensive line. I don't give a damn who they are. The fact of the matter is, I don't see the Jets playing any better this season. If they win 10 games, I will honestly be surprised. The defense and the run game should be what's holding that football team together. But Nathaniel Hackett, well, the run game is working. He's got 2 carries and how many yards? Oh, okay. Well, we're going to stop running the football now. What? Man, put the pipe down, man. You cooking? Shh. Weather. They were talking about it last night, too, during the Patriots game. The weather. Hell, the weather's really starting to reveal itself. Stop, man. This is the NFL. You're ready for the weather or you're not. And really quick here, I want to say this. Can we please slow down? Milton, seriously, I don't know why people are saying that throw was a rope. If it would have been a rope, he would have been leading the receiver and throwing it to where he's going. He wouldn't have had to turn all the way around to make the catch. You throw that pass against a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, and that thing is intercepted. Go watch highlights from Tennessee, man. You'll know what I'm talking about. No. Not buying that. Wasn't too bad of a game last night. Real sloppy play. Wasn't as crisp as what I saw with the Texans and Bears. That was just a really good game of football for the Hall of Fame game. For a preseason game, the first one of the year, that was a solid football game to watch. Carolina and New England was sloppy last night. All right, real quick here. Dak Prescott. So, Nina Kimes of ESPN said that if Dak Prescott were to go somewhere else, he would make buku bucks. Look, with all due respect, Dak Prescott is a backup quarterback. He should be thanking his lucky stars every single day that he's on the Dallas Cowboys. Because if he were anywhere else in the NFL, he would be a backup and nobody would talk about him. Even if he were a starter, nobody would talk about him. He's Derek Carr at best. Seriously, I am so tired of it. And I really get tired of Dallas Cowboy fan after we all saw what happened last season in the playoffs. I really get tired of Dallas Cowboy fan trying to tell me and everybody else, look, it wasn't him that gave up all those points. No, but it was him turning over the football and putting his defense in a bad position. Dak is a regular season quarterback. And if anybody wants to talk about Tony Romo being a regular season quarterback, then they better be saying the same damn thing about Dak Prescott. Because at this point, it's just one for the other. I'm just keeping it a buck. I really don't know how Dak has survived this long as a starting quarterback in this league. Especially for what is supposed to be America's team. I really don't get it. In almost every loss that they've had, Dak Prescott has been the problem. Go look at the Arizona game from this past season. Look at any game that they lost. I'm not saying that play calling doesn't rear its ugly head. It does, but he can't push the ball down the field. Years ago, you had receivers saying, we are leaving points on the field because Dak can't get it there. You got somebody streaking down the field 40 yards, wide open. They got to stop on a dime because Dak cannot get him the football. Do you know how good the Dallas Cowboys would be if Patrick Mahomes had that offensive line, that receiving core, those running backs? Come on, man. That's the thing. And this is, to me, the ultimate test. You start swapping out quarterbacks in these situations, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. What do you think you're going to see? Hell, Aaron Rodgers, last season, if he's on Dallas, probably ends completely different. For all my blustering about Rodgers, he was a damn good quarterback in his prime. You give him that football team from last year, they probably go at the bare minimum to the NFC Championship game because A, he's protected behind that offensive line. B, he's probably going to have better play calling. C, he's got everything around him that you need. Dak Prescott would not get huge money to go somewhere else. Do not let what is going on with Kirk Cousins blindfold you into believing that everybody's just going to start getting huge paydays. I mean, what are we going to do? Just start flinging money around at everybody and watch them continue to underperform? People don't want to go 12-5 every single year and then lose in the first round of the playoffs. Nobody wants to do that. At some point, you have to prove yourself a playoff winner. You have to show that against the best competition, you can get it done. And Dak can't. It's not for lack of talent. It's for lack of capability. And that's all there is to it. All right, real quick here, because we barely have enough time for this. USA basketball, hell of a comeback. Probably shouldn't have been messing with Melo. You know, I don't know if people know this or not, but Melo and LeBron are boys. And the only reason why LeBron went ahead and decided to go to the NBA instead of going to Q's is because he found out Melo was coming out to the draft. That was it. Can you imagine Melo and LeBron in Syracuse? They had ran college basketball. Easy. Undefeated, championship. It's not even close. It's the way that it is. Especially with McNamara from deep. Oh, yeah. No, it's over. Tell you what's really pissing me off. Oh, man, look at LeBron saving Melo's legacy. Man, shut the hell up. You know, there's only a handful of players that have won a collegiate title, an NBA championship, and a gold medal. Melo has 2 out of the 3. Whether anybody likes it or not, he is a winner. That's all there is to it. And Melo looked like he was getting ready to swap jerseys and go in last night. Somebody let me play. After that, it was a wrap. Clutch shot by KD. What was it, 30 seconds left to put that game away? One hell of a performance last night from Team USA. Regardless of why they did it, they won. And Melo was absolutely LeBron's hype man. Did you see him after the game? Gee. Give me that. Well, the Olympics have just been off the chart this year. Simone Biles with an official takeover on gymnastics. Completely dominated. It's not even close. Team USA has been amazing in track and field. By yesterday's count, more medals than anybody right now. People setting records left and right. Team USA basketball could potentially be taking home a gold medal. Which, by the way, this is, again, part of why I think they need to shorten the season. I mean, come on, man. Look how late they're playing right now. I mean, NBA basketball starts in October. The preseason does anyways. Think they're not going to be tired? I'm just saying. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Take a device to play Fired Up by Drew Duncan. You can find me on the HHN TV app, the Hip Hop Network. You can find me on WBFR Radio, Block50Radio.com. Google Fired Up by Drew Duncan. I'm going to pop right up, Broham. Thank you once again to all of our guests this week. Tamika Brents, Austin Ford. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Your local programming is next. Everybody stay safe. Have an amazing weekend. Don't you dare touch that dial.